He has done busted a string, folks. We're going to take a pause here and let me tell you a story. I grew up in the country out there in Nash County, and there's a little old country store out there. And the guy who run the store, he was a nice old gentleman. He loved to, every time he rung up somebody, he would quote a verse of scripture. And the men that sit in there and playing checkers and all back there at the table, they just loved to hear what he was going to come up with next. Well, one day they was all in there playing checkers and whatnot, and this little kid come in there and bought some candy. And as he was going to ring him up, he hit the button and he said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me." And them old men just smiled, and that just tickled them. A little bit later, this young man come in looking for a gift for his father for Father's Day. So Ralph, he helped him find a gift for him and got him up there to the register, and he was getting ready to ring him up, and he said, "Honor thy father and mother." And them men just a smile, and they just loved to hear old Ralph quote these verses of scripture. Well, sure enough, this great big truck pulled up out front, hauling a horse trailer behind it. And this man come in and said, "Sir, I need a horse blanket for my horse." Ralph said, "Okay, I got one back here in the back." And he went back there and pulled out a horse blanket, just the one off the top of the pile. And he brought it back and put it on the counter. He said, "Sir, that'll be $25. This man said, "I don't think you understand something, sir." He said, "I have a champion bloodline horse out there, and I'm on the way to the state fair. I need a blanket, a better blanket than this for my horse." Ralph said, "Okay, well, I think I got another one in the back." And he went back there in the back and pulled another blanket off the same pile, just a different color, and brought it up there and set it down. He said, "That'll be $50. That man said, "Sir, this is a champion horse out here. I'm not buying no $50 blanket for them horse. I need a nice blanket." Ralph said, "All right, I think I got one more back there." So he walks in the back, pulls another blanket, different color, off the same exact pile, puts it on the counter and said, "That's $100. That man said, "I'll take it. That's more like it." So as he was getting ready to pay him and Ralph was getting ready to hit the button on the cash register, he noticed them men over there had stopped playing checkers and they were paying attention to what was getting ready to happen. And as he hit the button on that cash register, he said, "He was a stranger to me, and I took him in." You like that preacher? Ain't preacher likes that one. I got one more for you then. There was these two baby snakes. And they was out there crawling around in their mama's pit, learning how to hiss. And the mama come out there and said, "What you youngins doing out here?" And they said, "Ma, we're out here learning how to hiss in your pit." She said, "Well, I ain't going to have you out here hissing in my pit. You go down the road down there to Mrs. Potts' pit and hiss." So they crawled on down the road and was down there at Mrs. Potts' pit hissing. And Miss Pot come out. She said, "What are you youngins doing out here in my pit?" They said, "Well, we was at home learning how to hiss in our mama's pit. And she told us that we weren't going to hiss in her pit, to come down here and hiss in yourn." She said, "Well, I ain't going to have it either. Y'all go right on back and hiss in your own pit." So they went back home, and they was out there hissing in their mama's pit. And the mama come out and said, "I thought I told you youngins, I didn't want you out here hissing in my pit." They said, "Well, Mama, we went down to Mrs. Potts' pit to hiss, and she told us to come back here and hiss in our own pit." She said, "Well, the nerve of that woman. I knew Mrs. Pot when she didn't have a pit to hiss in."